community if they bring in enough taxable income to offset the added taxes for the more roads and more services needed. For over a decade, Florida's new jobs have been mostly low-paying retail and service jobs related to tourism. That's why the average wage here is only 87% of the national average. Our growth industry is about twice as big as it is in the rest of the country. But instead of construction preparing the way for technical and other value-added jobs, it has become an end in itself, pumping out more and more new houses that add to Florida's tax burden. James Nicholas, a professor of urban and regional planning at the University of Florida, has taken a hard look at the impacts of Florida's growth.
The best estimate we have is that it costs about $40,000 to accommodate each new household in Florida with streets and police protection, solid waste disposal, schools, a big part of that. We require the construction of 125 to 150,000 new homes per year for jobs, for tax revenues. And we know that that cannot continue. And that we're going to have to find means for people to have jobs and earn good livings other than building homes. Simply put, Florida cannot fund the level of growth that Florida is having. And so the more growth we have, the bigger the fiscal shortfall. What we should focus on in the growth debate really is development rather than simply growth. If we become better, then sure, it's progress. If we simply become bigger, whether or not it's progress should be questioned.
Every day during the 1990s, our state grew by 834 people. That's a faster rate of growth than in Mexico or India. Every day, we converted 417 acres of fields and farms to urban use. Every day, we needed over 140,000 more gallons of water. We could make fresh water from the sea, but that's expensive. We can't even afford the projects we're committed to right now.
It's stringing the old milk bottles together time. People were getting ready to go get the water uptown, the 30 cents a gallon drinking water. Even though we have a water softener on our well, when you take a bath, fill a bathtub up, it looks like you're bathing in iced tea.
Richard Rancifer lives in Land O'Lakes, Florida, a town once famous for its water. Now he, like thousands of other Floridians, has to bring his drinking water home in bottles, like a villager in some third world country, because overdevelopment has ruined the water in his well.
The water problem here in Pasco County is getting a little more serious every year. We have a serious problem with the quality and the quantity of water. The water management people just keep issuing more and more permits, way more than can be sustained by the water that flows back into the aquifer. We've got some areas here in Florida that are real disasters. One of them is Cruz Lake. Used to be around 20 miles long, and now it's maybe a half acre. And the main reason is that we've got water well fields all around it. They're sucking up all the water. And there must be at least 125,000 permits for new houses have been let. And there's no way that we can furnish that money.
A few people made a lot of money messing up Florida's environment for a century and a half, and everybody is now paying the price for it. But instead of heeding the warning signs nature is giving us, many local governments keep permitting thousands of new houses, with little thought for how that will affect our already stressed water supply or anything else. The Florida Department of Community Affairs, which administers our Growth Management Act, has approved development for 101 million people in Florida. Biologists and land use planners say with current lifestyles, our sustainable population size should be around 6 or 7 million. We're now over 16 million. Something's got to give. And maybe it already has. At least a few elected officials seem to be getting the message. Pegeen Hanrahan is District 3 Commissioner for the City of Gainesville.
Really, when a public official makes a decision that affects a community, they really ought to be thinking about the overall impact and not just the private interests of those who are coming with a request, but the public interest at large. And we're really trying to work to have a unified vision of what we'd like our community to look like as it grows and how we'd like it to function and to feel. We want to have good quality communities that have live-work units, perhaps, that have neighborhoods that have a broad cross-section of people living in them. We have done some projects with the private sector, and one great example is Union Street Station. The city participated in assisting to make that project a viable economic project that is commercial on the first floor, office on the second, and residential on the third, fourth, and fifth. And the great thing about it is that some of the people who live there, perhaps if they work downtown, they don't need to be using up the natural resources associated with driving cars. They're living in a more compact area. They're able to, go to restaurants and shops and theaters and those kinds of things right close to where they live and work.
Of all the fairy tales about growth, the most damaging for our future is the idea that we can't do anything about all this. All over Florida, all over the U.S., people are speaking up and taking action, and it's having an effect. Just ask Clay Colson of Pasco County.
Citizens for Sanity formed basically because our county commission was approving development that was not consistent or compliant with the comprehensive plan and with the area in which we lived. They were about to put in a development that was 1,520 homes on 40 by 100 foot lots without providing the necessary schools for that or services to these people. And we realized from the more we looked at it that we were actually going to be shouldering the burden of all these new homes coming in. We would be paying higher taxes, higher property taxes. As we went forward to just fight this one development, we realized the problem was much greater than just this particular development, that this was a problem that went out through our entire county, and that our county commission for some time had not been following the growth management rules that were there. So it was pretty simple for us to go to court and win this in administrative hearing, which actually the county decided to settle on before we ever got to the actual trial.
Your tax dollars are providing the services that keep the growth industry going. The bigger the town, the higher the taxes. This isn't rocket science. But our government, especially our local government, is supposed to be of, by, and for the people, improving our quality of life. Is growth really making your life better?
There's one coming up. Up there. Oh, I want a picture. Where the alien touches you. Oh, there's a baby. Look at the baby.
Florida still is a strange and beautiful place, and the castles, or at least some of them, are real. But we need to open our eyes to what's happening around us. Florida's addiction to growth, like any other addiction, is a road to ruin. We'll never live happily ever after until we find another path to the future. For more information about growth and population issues, visit the website of FEAR at www.floridasos.com or the website of Floridians for Sustainable